If you stepped away from your team for 2 weeks, what would happen? Let that sink in for a second. Answer it in your head. So the good managers among you would hesitate, think, oh, maybe. The medium managers or the average managers, maybe those that are overwhelmed, you might laugh nervously, just like I did, and say, "Oh man, that would be awful." And then micromanagers, most micromanagers in this case would say the it would be a disaster. Like everything would fall apart if I stepped away for 2 weeks. And that's not something that's born out of ego. Um, it's not something that's born out of the need to control. It's actually born out of fear. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit today. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to take you through a 5-step system that we here at Peoplyst call the let go model, and that'll help you. As a matter of fact, as we go through the steps in the system, you'll go from the person on the left here to the person on the right, because we're going to teach you the let go model. We're also going to talk about why people micromanage. And then at the end, we're going to give you our trust equation, which is a big part of this too. So let's start with the idea that delegation fear is costing you more than you think. And the idea here is that when you delegate, or when you don't delegate, I should say, you stay buried in the chores that you shouldn't be doing. In other words, you hire people to do things for you. And then when you don't let those people do the things you hire them to do, then of course you get stuck doing them. That takes up your time. Your team never really fully owns their work either, which is another big problem. One, because they aren't doing it, and two, because they don't feel like they're utilizing their skills that they were hired for. And then finally, your business pays in payroll, like added expenses, and in missed opportunities, which are bad, obviously. So I've seen a lot of talented managers spend up to 60% of their week doing things that other people should be doing if they would just delegate, and that's way too much. So if you want your team to go from this on the left to this on the right, then you need to respect them and give them the work that you hired them to do instead of trying to keep it all for yourself. And I know that's easier said than done. And again, we get back to, why does this happen? And the main reason is that most micromanagement is just pure self-protection. It's the reason that people can't let go. And when I say self-protection, it's people thinking, uh, I'm going to delegate, but if it's not done right, then I have to fix it. And so then they did it, and now I have to redo it. So I have to fix it. And what's the point of that? You might as well just do it yourself, right? And then what if it goes wrong? It's on me. What if I delegate this to someone and they do it and it doesn't come out right? And then I'm the one left holding the bag for it. My boss is mad at me, or the client that we were supposed to present to doesn't get what they need, and we don't close the sale. What if that happens? And then finally, and this one is just pure fear, which is, if they can do this without me, why do I even need to be here? Maybe if I delegate everything, they'll just get rid of me and have them do all the work. And of course, that leaves out the importance of you managing, which is super important as well. So your value in an organization goes well beyond doing the tasks that need to be done, and go to directing and developing those who are doing those tasks. So once you become a manager, obviously you have to stop doing some of the things that you've been doing and start doing new things that are all leading and managing. So we had one person who said, one of our clients who said, I wasn't trying to control them. I just didn't know how to make sure it got done right. And that's a problem that we hear from a lot of people. And we just talked about it on the previous slide, is what if I give it to them, they don't do it right? It's on me. I'm the one that's accountable. And so I don't think that managers typically micromanage out of malicious intent. I just think it's hard to let go. And so that's how we came up with this model, by the way, is by calling it the let go model, because not only is it a method for delegation, but it's also a method for helping you as a leader or manager let go of the things that someone else should be doing. And if you don't mind, I'm going to take just a second here. My name is Bryan Howard. I run Peoplyst, which is a company that solves people problems for businesses so they can be more successful. And as we go through this, you might be thinking to yourself, this is exactly the type of training that my managers need. And if that's the case, we can help. So you can contact us at peoplyst.com. I'll give you some information at the end as well. We do these types of trainings as part of our Foundations of Management program, which is a 13 program, or I'm sorry, a 13 course program that helps your managers manage and lead well. We can deliver them in person or virtually. And we have one guarantee, and that guarantee is if you hire us, your people problems will be solved. And with that, that's the end of the commercial. Thanks for indulging me. Let's jump into the let go model. So it's very simple, actually. The let go model is lead, explain, try, guide, and observe. So a very simple model, and it's things that you do every day already anyway. But let's go through each of the steps in the model a little bit, and then you'll be able to understand exactly what I mean by each of these things. So let's start with lead at the beginning. So leading is all about showing how it's done. You're basically giving them the step-by-step process. But what's really important about leading is showing them how it's done and what success looks like. So when you're in the lead phase of this, you want to take some time and say, let's say you were doing a report, for example, and you would want to sit and say, here's how you run this report. Here's the step-by-step method to run this report. And if you run this report successfully, this is what the output should look like. So you don't take shortcuts. You don't make any assumptions. You just pretend like this person knows nothing about what you're doing. And you walk them through it step by step with you in the lead and them watching so that they, again, can see what success looks like. And then once you've led them, you're going to do what a lot of managers never do, and you're going to explain why. So this is, why are we running this report? What is this report used for? Who gets this report after it's run? What do they do with it? Why does this thing even matter? Most managers never share this. They just show them how to do it, ask them to do it, and they never really explain why. And a lot of times your employees want to know why. They want to understand, well, why am I doing this? And it's very easy to just say, well, that doesn't matter. Or worse yet, that's really none of your business. You don't want to say that. You want to tell them why. They need to know. It helps them own the task in a way that they won't own it otherwise. So explain is a big part of this. That's why it's number 2. The next thing you want to do is let them take a crack at it. Now, this is what I like to call guided practice. And if you let them try it themselves with you standing over them, then they get to make mistakes. It's a safe place. And as they run it, you can point out things and say, that's not exactly what I showed you before. Let me show you again. Let me show you which radio button to click, or how to include a date range, or which report you're choosing, any of those things. But let them try it on their own. Put them hands on the keyboard or whatever the task might be, and say, okay, you try it. And I'm going to watch and give you some coaching as you do it. So you watch what happens. And then just guide them. This is what they need at this point. Imagine that you were teaching somebody something brand new and they'd never done it before. You can imagine that they're going to mess up. As a matter of fact, if you think about speaking a foreign language, for example, when you first learn how to speak a foreign language and you're trying, maybe you'd use Duolingo or Jump Speak or something like that, and then you start talking to someone who's a native. A lot of times they'll help you along the way. They'll guide you and they'll say, that's not the right way to say it, or your verbs are backwards, or you're using the wrong words in context. And they guide you and they tell you how to do that. Well, we want to do the exact same thing. We want to coach in the moment. And the idea here is, when we're letting them try, that is guided practice, right? And at this point, we're going to coach and adjust, and we're going to encourage, and we're going to let them try it over and over and over again until they get it right. And then when they get it right, we want to recognize them for that. And then we want to make sure they can do it. So try it a few more times and make sure that the getting it right wasn't an accident, that they can do it. You can use this for anything. You could even use this for sales scripts. If you're training a sales team and the sales team is supposed to use the script when they get on the phone with their prospects, then you sit there and drill the sales script over and over and over again, and you guide them and you let them try and you encourage them. And you don't let them get down on themselves, and you repeat it until they can do it on their own. And then once they can do it on their own, one of my favorite phrases, inspect what you expect. So now you're just going to observe. You're going to step out, stay available, let them run with it. The item has now been officially delegated. Now they're doing it. You're no longer doing it. You're just an observer. And after you observe it for some period of time, the length of time between observing each task can get bigger and bigger and bigger because you develop trust. And that trust piece is the most important part of this. Is one of the things that makes the let go model terrific is that you're building mutual trust between each other. They trust you because you taught them the best way to do it. You practiced with them until they got it right. And now they feel like they can do it. So you're not just throwing them to the wolves when you give them a task. And then you trust them for the exact same reasons. You saw them do it. You guided them. You taught them. You saw them do it. And now you know they can do it flawlessly. You've observed them doing it. Now, sure, things come up. That's why you continue to observe, right? Is you still have to inspect what you expect to make sure the things are done correctly. And for that, you can use direct observation. You can use dashboards, metrics. You can use feedback from clients. So maybe it's a customer service rep that you're talking to, and you've delegated some tasks to them, and now you're going to look at your customer satisfaction scores to make sure they're doing things right. There's many indicators of whether or not someone is performing a task correctly, and you have all of those tools at your disposal to use to make sure that they're doing it right. So if they're not doing it right, then what do? You go all the way back to the beginning and you show them what good looks like again, and then you explain why again, and then you guide them again, right? And you go through each of the steps of the let go model until they get it right, and then you let them go again. Now, here's the thing is if you get this model right, and I know you can, then you'll feel like this and your team will feel like this. This is the best possible scenario for delegating because everybody trusts each other that the job is getting done and that the job is getting done right. And so this is by far the best feeling for not just delegating, but getting things done. So we could stop here. This could be the end of the seminar. We're only 13, 14 minutes in. But as you always hear on the commercials, but wait, there's more. The trust equation, which is what I told you about at the beginning of the webinar. This is the third piece of what I will give you. And confidence equals clarity plus capability plus consistency. And so when you use the let go model to delegate, then you are building confidence, one, in yourself that your employees can do the things that you need them to do. And two, you're building confidence in the employee as well. Because when things are clear to them, they understand exactly what expected and why it matters. So that gets them bought into the idea of what they're doing, not just an assigned task, but why it actually matters. And then the capability, they've practiced it. So one of the things that employees struggle with is if they don't feel confident in their ability to do something, then they'll put off doing it, or they'll do it poorly, or they'll do it tentatively. And that's not what you want. You want people who have practiced and they've been coached and they know they can do it well. So they know they have that capability. And then finally, they get repeated chances to prove that they can deliver. I often say that you need three things to keep an employee or to motivate an employee. You need a way for them to grow, a chance for them to show, and a place for them to go. And the consistency piece here is that middle piece, the place for them to show, or I'm sorry, the chance for them to show, which is repeated chances to prove that they can deliver over and over again. Now, when you offer these three things to someone, they have confidence and they actually like coming to work and doing the things that they do. They feel counted on, even though they're accountable. They also feel counted on. And for employees, that means they feel valued, they feel important, and one of the best things you can do for an employee is make them feel welcome, wanted, and then that final word I just said, important, valued. Now, before you start using the model, the let go model, delegation feels like a gamble. Remember, what if I give it to them and they don't do it right? What if they mess it up and I get in trouble for it? What if they don't need me anymore after I give it to them? After the let go model, delegation becomes a system that builds trust in both directions. And I just mentioned that. I just don't want you to forget it. As a matter of fact, one of our clients said the let go model made it easier to let go without feeling like I was setting them up to fail or setting myself up to fix it later. How good does that feel at the end of the day when you can use the let go model? You know things are going to go right. You know you can watch everything because you've done it the right way. So you have trust, your employees have trust. It is very important. So now you might be thinking, okay, that's great. You gave me this model, lead, explain, try, guide, and observe. But how do I take this back to my job when I get off of this webinar and make it work in my own organization? So think about this for a minute. As a matter of fact, just take a second or two and think about a task right now that you know you should be delegating to your employees. Think about it, get it in your head, and then let's walk through these questions that are on the screen. This, by the way, is your methodology, and I'll tell you how you can get a copy of the information in this presentation after when we get to the end. But ask yourself, how can I model the task so they see exactly what good looks like? Simple question. How can I show it? Can I give a step by step? Can I give a demonstration? Would it be better if I printed out this report? Would it be better if I showed them in a hands-on demonstration? One of the most fun things about going to like a home event where they do cooking shows is you get to watch the person cook, and they're usually hawking some kind of knives or cookware or something like that. And at the end of that, they've done such a great job of demonstrating and telling you what they're doing all the way through that you feel motivated and you're like, I can do that. So then you buy the pots and pans or knives or whatever it is that they're selling at the home show. And all they did was developed a model so that you could see exactly what good looked like. And then you explain the reason. So you say, why does this task matter to the company, to me, to my boss, to the employee, to the client? Think about who it matters to, and then why does it matter to those people? And that's what you want to tell your employee. So jot those things down, and then you have a list of the things you're going to share with them. So you're not trying to think about it on the spot. And for try, you're just going to say, where can they test this safely while you observe? So if it's something dangerous, like maybe the first time I watched, I've seen some nurses do some training, or not nurses, but like EMTs and those kinds of things. And I see them give shots on to an orange. So instead of giving a shot to a patient, they give a shot to an orange. Or maybe it's a doctor who's doing stitches or sutures for the first time. So they have some synthetic skin that the doctor can practice on over and over again until they get it right. And so this is like the safe place for them to try while you observe. And of course, the more high stakes it is, the more inventive you have to be to make sure that uh, that nobody gets harmed while they're practicing. It needs to be safe. And then finally, what feedback or coaching can you give them in real time? And once you do this a few times, especially if you have a team where there's a bunch of people doing the same thing, then you will develop a good understanding of where people get stuck. What are the things that people have the most problems with? Part of that could be in how you're explaining it. So if someone gets stuck at the same point every time you train a new person, then maybe explain it a little bit better. But it also gives you some opportunities to build some coaching points for that particular task. And then finally, how will I step back but still be available as they own it? This is really important because, again, you want to inspect what you expect, and that's a very important part of this. Delegating uh, does not mean letting it go completely or abdicating responsibility or accountability for it. It just means that while you're still accountable, you're letting somebody else do it. So we've covered a lot in 20, 22 minutes, somewhere in that neighborhood. And so I want to go back to where we started at the very beginning. Is once you put the let go model into your business and you start using it every day, and then I show up at a webinar or in a classroom, virtually or in person, and I say, if you stepped away from your team for 2 weeks, what would happen? It'd be an easy answer. The answer is nothing would happen. Things would keep happening just like it does. And the reason for that is because you know and your people know that they can do the job. And because they're confident in their ability to do the job using the trust model, uh, you can assume, you can know that your people will make it happen while you're gone, which is really, really great, in my opinion. So, how many of you would like to be able to go away for 2 weeks knowing that nothing bad would happen and everything would be handled? I know I like to do that when I leave, and my employees are more than capable of taking care of me while I'm gone. Now, we know at Peoplyst one thing for sure, and that is learning only counts when behavior changes. So today I gave you the let go model. I talked about why people micromanage, and I gave you the trust equation. And these are all new things that you've learned today. Now, it might not be rocket science, but I did give you a good way to think about it, a good way to look at it, and an opportunity to go in today when you leave this and start implementing the let go model. So, learning only occurs when behavior changes. So, I'm going to challenge you to change your behavior when you leave this today. And here's your challenge for the rest of this week. Today's Tuesday. So for the rest of this week through Friday, pick one task that you should be delegating that you're not, and walk through let go step by step with your employees. Delegate it. Watch what happens. You'll be amazed. It is one of the best models that we use at Peopleist, and we watch employees latch onto it all the time. They really appreciate how it works. So win-win, right? You get to delegate, they get to do things that they were hired to do, which is really good. Now, I said to you at the beginning of this that the Let Go model is part of our Foundations of Management program. It's part of the delegating course that we have there. And the delegating course is um, part of a 13 course program called Foundations of Management that has a cornerstone course called Welcome to Management, and then a capstone course, which is a case study course where the learners get to participate in a case study where they get to use the previous 12 courses all in one place. And so if this sounds like something that you'd like at your company, then you can give us a call. We'd love to talk about it. If you'd like to get uh, the quick reference guide from this today, in other words, all of the information that you heard here today, also the link to this webinar after it's finished recording, then you can send me an email. Just put in the subject line "Let Go." I can send you some more information on the foundations of management. I can send you the quick reference guide for the Let Go model, and of course the link to the recording. So any of those things you need, just let me know. We'd love to hear from you. Again, my name is Bryan Howard. You can reach me at brian.howard@peopleist.com. And remember, you don't have to micromanage. You can trust your employees, and they can trust you. And it all gets better when you just let go. So thanks for joining. Have a great day. Maybe we'll see you next time. Our next webinar will be about using feed forward to help your employees grow.